The Stonecrest Economic Development Steering Committee will come to order. I want to make, a quick roll call here. So that we can validate that we do have a forum. So we'll start on the other side of the table.
Usually somebody.
I can read all.
Okay.
Oh, you wanna read them?
Yeah, actually, thank you so much.
Ravonda Cosby,
Present.
Shelby Jackson, Dave Marcus,
Present.
Bernard Knight,
For
the industrial
council, present. Yes,
Todd Mayfield,
Present.
Christopher Seabrook, Jethro Wagner, Andrew Wells,
Here.
and Jasmine Cobb.
Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Yes.
All right. So with that, I want to go quickly over the agenda and recommend likely some adjustments to the day's activity as it relates to the agenda, which potentially will make a bifurcated agenda in my estimation. And this is following the conversation that the co-chair and I had about what reporting information we need to submit and to whom. So going through the agenda, first I want to make a motion that we approve the agenda with these exceptions.
Which exception?
I'm about to, but Barney.
No, go ahead. Oh, yeah, we probably should hear those exceptions first.
Yeah.
And then, okay, thank you, sir.
So on the agenda, we want to approve the July 11th meetings. July 11th. Actually, this should be, is this the
We
June?
unfortunately,
There was a June meeting that we did.
well, no, actually it was, we have June minutes. And we have June minutes for a July meeting. We did not have that meeting.
Right.
So those minutes never got approved, and we didn't do it last time because we wanted to make sure we had time.
Right.
For the presentation.
So we have June and September minutes to ultimately approve.
Yes, the September minutes were included with the email, and then, but we also have to approve these, yeah.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna modify item A to include June 11th and September 26th minutes. I'm sorry, item B. Item C, discuss the committee's input to the draft economic development plan. Now, and this would be up for a little bit of discussion, I guess. Dave and I had a conversation about what it is that we should submit and to whom we should submit it. So we got two parts. There was what I would consider a very comprehensive set of questions and input for the plan document itself that we received both from Dave and from Bernie. And so that's one piece that we are essentially going to be proposing that we.
Yes, and me too.
And I.
Okay.
I got mine.
Okay.
Did you send a survey or the?
I sent the survey.
Right,
You requested the survey?
right.
That's what I think we're talking about, the spreadsheets.
But they're actually they're actually three different documents.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah, there are actually three different inputs from the committee out there right now.
Okay.
The first one is the survey. Right one. That was sent out to be completed online. The second one is a template that our co-chair Dave put together that basically itemizes on a slide-by-slide basis what his comments, questions, and inputs are for the presentation or the document that the consultant completed. And Bernie falls along those lines as well. And Andrew, yeah, I haven't seen Andrew, I've seen these, so I've done a deep dive on any of them yet. And then there's in which Dave and I discussed having those be submitted to the Economic Development Department and hopefully, or perhaps, to the consultant. It is a working document, essentially. It's simple. And the third document, which will be a summary of the recommendations, questions, and comments that we will summarize as our council report that we will be submitting to the council.
You submit through council. You don't submit to council.
Because this committee serves at the leisure of the Director of Economic Development, right?
Which we now have.
Which we now have, and that's what our mayor made clear,
Yeah.
and the city manager.
Yes.
Okay, we need clarity on that, because
I don't need clarity on that one.
well, the
You
resolution,
do?
yeah, I need clarity on that.
I talked to the city manager this morning just to make sure that I was clear on that direction, and she was very clear that was in fact.
What
Honestly, but the
benefit
council-
our committee to give it to someone other than the director?
we got, because the council appointed the committee.
The council appointed you through economic development, the economic development director. That's what the resolution.
Yeah, that's not what the, and that's where we need to get clarification, because that's the MO that we're operating on. Okay, right, and so, I mean, it's something that.
When did that become an MO that you operate?
Well, when we got the recommendation, when we got the appointment for the committee, the resolution that appointed.
But that was appointed by the economic development director through council.
At the time, it was William Smith?
Yeah.
Well.
No, that's not right, that's not what, right, so the council appointed the committee.
Well, I submit the economic development plan to council with your comments and everything else. There's, if your information is still, and I wanna just. What the disconnect is, you're still providing the information, I'm not editing it.
No, I'm,
To that, so I'm
right.
trying to understand where the disconnect and why.
well, because my experience has been that when a council makes a set of committee appointments, that the report that the committee produces goes to the appointers, which would be the council.
Point of order, I believe we are off topic.
We are, and so let's get back to the agenda, and we'll come back
An
to that.
important discussion.
Right.
I will make and city manager, you know.
Well,
That
what we
would
need to hear
determine
from the
if-
council, what we need to hear from this is on the council, but we'll come back to that, we'll come back.
I wasn't appointed, I wanna go on record as saying I was not appointed by council. I had a relationship and our alliance met with the then Jonathan Bartlett. Showed some value in this conversation, got on that committee, stayed through Mr. Bartlett leaving, watched Mr. Smith come and go, I'm still here. So I wasn't appointed that by council. I'm a national nonprofit, and that's just not how it came, so I don't want you all to carry the water for me, because I'm clear on the assignment.
Right, I'm,
I was the Arabian Mountain National Heritage.
Alliance, I just happen to be. the
Just like
director.
our industrial company.
Yeah.
Was appointed, yes.
So I just wanna go on record as having understood that for me and the organization. I represent.
And just to be clear, regardless.
we'll come back to the discussion, but for the purposes of deciding the agenda, deciding the agenda.
Yes.
Right, the items that we will discuss tonight will essentially lead up to, item C. Based on the input that we have gotten as it relates to the spreadsheet that Dave put together. And the input that Bernie provided, unless there were additional people who provided. input. And Rhonda and
Andrew.
Andrew.
And you,
No, I didn't provide any input for,
But I still.
for your document.
Because I don't think it was written to the committee.
No, I sent it directly to Christian.
Yeah,
and I
sent me
used
and I
This,
got-
I went slide by slide.
Right.
and
I had the whole
offered-
thing together, except for yours, Andrew, because it came in late. But I have everyone's together side by side.
Well, that's
important for, isn't it, for us to see what we're going to do.
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
all of them.
Hang on.
may I propose that item C on the agenda be discussion of what to do with our recommendations and comments.
Well, it's not really a discussion, I'll go to the city council and get clarification.
Well, I think you're talking about the content of what we're.
Right, that's item E you're talking about.
I'm just talking about figuring out,
Mhm.
before we even talk about what the questions and comments are,
Right.
what we want to do with them. And maybe that's a discussion we're just
I
having.
think we want them all to end up in the same place.
They all end up as an appendix in the report that into when I submitted to the Economic Development Strategic Plan. After the consultant has seen your comment and the results of the survey. Nuveen has had a time to take their professional opinion, look at it, make modifications to the Economic Development Strategic Plan as it sits in draft form. And then resubmit it to me and to this group to look at and review one last time before it goes before Council,
That's-
Since
or
we
review.
are, since we're discussing this now, in spite of my best efforts.
I do think we need to, before we go into
I
discussion,
will just say that I'm entirely comfortable with what Christian has outlined. It may or may not be what the council intended, but I think it is the best thing.
So long as the revive, after the comments from this committee.
Yeah.
Go to the consultant, and the consultant considers them. And then may or may not make changes. Then the results of whatever the consultant does at that time will be brought back to this committee.
That's what I thought.
And that's what I want, that's when.
That's what I.
time out. What we're trying to do right now is to get the agenda approved for tonight, and then we can get into.
Now we
discussion.
go to approving your, the changes.
No, we're not. We're not talking about the specifics of the reports and the content of the report and where the sources come. What we're talking about is what we're going to discuss tonight that's on the agenda. And what we will defer to is to subsequent meetings. Because there are subsequent, I don't think there's gonna be enough time to go through all of the things that you're not discussing on the phone.
I agree.
Right, and so in order to have a successful meeting tonight and subsequent meeting, what we agreed to do is to essentially stop the discussion at tonight's discussion at item C on the agenda.
So we won't take on C, we'll get through A and B
We'll get through A, B, and C,
and C, we will
Right,
complete C,
right.
okay,
but D, E, and F, we will defer.
if we don't have sufficient time. Or we just make a decision.
We're
I
making
was gonna say, we would have to decide on that line like this.
Okay.
So we need a motion for those changes to be made to tonight's agenda.
What is the purpose to discuss? What's the outcome of C?
The purpose of discuss would be to have a conversation about the inputs that are on your spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that you, or
Everybody else.
and everybody else's. But the spreadsheet that you designed and everybody else put input in, I didn't, except me, right?
Who is present on this screen presenting, is that?
That's Shelby Jackson.
And the city.
Hello, Shelby.
Ms. Jackson is here.
Yeah, we need to add her to the roll.
Hi, Shelby.
Hey, you guys, I'm here virtually. I don't think my vote will count, but yes, I'm here virtually.
Can we turn that up a little by voice?
Oh, am I talking too low? I'm sorry.
Wording it otherwise.
It's very quiet.
So we are revising this, because I might make a motion, because I really came to get to C tonight. And I'm so excited that we all comment. That's what I'm most excited, and that you got the comments in time and have put them in so that we can sit in this room in full committee.
Yeah.
And digest the general nature of the comments.
Yeah.
Right, we're not gonna go through 73 slides and 190 comments, right, Mr. Christian Green?
Well, we don't know that.
Okay.
There's a
We
lot
don't
of
know
comments.
All right, so let me understand this like that, because I wanna make the right motion.
Right.
We are gonna make a motion to approve this agenda with the revisions, including the deletion of D, E, and F.
To defer, not delete, to defer DC.
To delete from this agenda.
Yes,
But I still wonder if we should have a sense of what the outcome of C is going to be.
we won't know until we have the discussion. The purpose of C is to have the discussion.
So will the discussion be slide by slide?
Well, we can make that determination when
Yes.
we get into the work. Right now, we're just confirming that these are the items that we will cover in this meeting.
Would a, is a motion, I don't know.
We don't have a motion yet.
Okay, so I should wait until the motion is made to approve the agenda to suggest a change.
Please, yes.
Or you want me to discuss it right now?
No, let's make that if someone will make that motion, I just described the motion. I thought
I
we were gonna-
move that we approve the agenda, changing June 11th to July and September,
okay,
and dropping for tonight items D, E, and F.
I get a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Discussion.
A discussion.
I would like to see, just one minor addition, not really, that we recognize our guests. Add that to the agenda.
Okay.
Since we should have guests tonight.
Okay.
All right, and they took the trouble to come here
Okay.
to listen to us, so I think that's wonderful.
Okay.
Other thing is a point of order. Are the minutes considered to be just the written document that has been prepared by Ms. Wells, or does it also include the video recording?
I would argue that it includes both.
Well, in that case, I think that there is just a very small,
I want to make a change, if I may. Everything, in the, meeting, in the last meeting, I referred to Bernie as notorious. Infamous? Well,
It's probably done.
I meant famous. Bernie took exception to that, as it apparently means something negative, but I was just like. You're well done. So it was not meant in a negative way, and I would like that, I recorded brought on the record.
I appreciate that. So
Change noted.
He may change his mind now about how he feels about me, but he's not gonna tell the truth.
So, with that,
with that minor change.
With that minor change.
For the recognizing of the guests.
will you accept that as an addendum to your motion?
I will absolutely accept that, and I will hope that the word recognize means allow them 30 seconds to say why they're here or what they want. What has made them.
How did you wanna come here in the first?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great, you're trying to make for us tonight, that we're missing. But seriously.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay,
And then do I have to second again because we made a change or?
Yeah, the new motion with the
Right.
addendum.
so I withdraw first motion
Yeah.
and put forth what we all know is my intent.
You gotta do better than that, Dave. You gotta give us a little.
Yeah.
Okay, I
All right.
move that we approve the agenda, however, but remove the agenda and changing June to July and September. Removing items D, E, and F, and making the very next item, which would be D. Recognition of our guests.
Second,
I second.
been moved and second that we adopt the agenda as described by Dave. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay? Ayes have it. The motion carries with the changes. Thank you. Now, our guests. 30 seconds each.
If you want to.
Fine. I'm Corey Johnson. This is my wife Lorraine. Excuse my voice, was in a motorcycle accident a few years back, it was really bad, but we were just here, kind of new residents. Just Stonecrest been here 2 years. We bought over in Lakeside. And we had been intending to come to city council meetings and just to understand who our leaders are, who our representatives are, what the plan is for our city. And, you know, help out if any way we can as citizens.
That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you gonna defer your?
Yes.
We haven't approved that.
If you could repeat your names again, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm Corey Johnson.
Uh-huh.
I'm Lorenda.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
And hi, I am Aisha Fuller. I am on the Parks and Rec Committee. I'm also in the Citizens Academy as well, and been here in Stonecrest before Stonecrest, when we first moved here in '87. So I purchased and came back to this area in 2009. So once we became a city, I was real curious about what were their plans, what was the vision, where we headed. And so I'm here today because I listened to the last session, really enjoyed what I heard and wanted to see exactly, you know, what the plan to bring down those things to light here. So I guess I need to let you know before that, so. Thanks for having me.
So if I could do a quick context, this is Kristen Green, the Economic Development Director,
Actually, Baylor.
who is his
Associate.
right-hand person. So Bob Cosby is here as representative of the Eurasia Alliance, which is the congressionally mandated management or planning or whatever organization for the Arabian Mountain National Heritage Area, ask for definitions after the meeting. Bernie Knight as the representative of the Industrial Council, and Andrew, Thad, and Dave are just folks.
Right. With a capital F.
That's fine.
Okay,
That's what.
all right. So agenda item C, approval of the minutes.
Discuss
Yes.
the committees.
No, it's a new city.
Wait, we did, yeah, you're right, it's a new state, right? Which is the approval of the July and September minutes. Is there a motion? Actually, is there a discussion?
No,
Oh, no, we didn't, yeah, we didn't.
I will be happy to so quickly that we approve the minutes with the one indentation requested by Mr. Green to note that Bernie is famous.
I think that's important.
Infamous. Which is the word I use, but you know.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor of adoption of the July and September minutes with the exception noted by Dave? As high. All opposed, nay? The ayes have it, the motion.
You'll make that change.
I will make that change.
Okay. Now let's get into the meat of today's conversation, which is item D. Discussing input to the draft economic development plan. And just sort of as a predicate for this conversation, just to let, you know, full disclosure. Dave and I had a conversation yesterday, I think it was, about the content that we need to submit to the city. And the list that Dave has and that I've seen from Bernie, I've been seeing the other two. Seems like a fairly detailed and comprehensive set of input, questions, suggestions, recommendations.
Are you talking about from the, Excel sheet?
Correct, from the Excel.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's just not printable.
Is that yours?
Yes.
Okay. I got everybody's on here. Email you. Everybody side by side, that's fine, but if that works, instead of order, and I'll add yours.
Oh,
Bernie was so much.
yeah, he did a
A
lot.
lot.
Well, and I didn't send mine until this morning, so.
That's what, you know what? Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Point of order, would it be appropriate to circulate this also to the guests?
No, I don't have a problem. We need an open meeting.
So that they can follow along.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
It's okay.
I think it would be appropriate if we just went person by person. Now, what I would ask you to consider as you are going through your list of inputs to the spreadsheet. That you be cognizant of the time. And that we would like to get the input from all four members who have made input. I don't know, Shelby, did you make input to the spreadsheet?
Nope.
Okay, all right, so we got 4 inputs to the spreadsheet. And I would start with the co-chair because it's the first person that I talked to, unless there's some objections to that. And I would ask that you, I think it would be important, let's see what time it is right now, if I could recommend some rule regarding this part of our conversation. It is 6:30 now, and the meeting is scheduled to be over at 7:30. So if we could allot 12 minutes each to each of the 4, that would give us enough time to have the inputs from everybody and have a brief discussion, roughly 3 minutes each. For each of the comments before we get to our closing.
I think that would give me 12 seconds to comment.
You're good.
I'm sure that's enough.
That's good math.
So,
Well, and
I'll agree to talk fast.
okay, yeah,
And to maybe summarize, because in reading
Yeah.
your two, and I didn't get Andrews, there are some things that we each say that are similar.
Yeah.
And then I think our director, Christian, took his time to blend these, so I would love to know before we start.
Yeah.
Did you get time to look at the inputs, Christian, or was it just the compiling?
I was just compiling,
Okay.
right
I was
on, and I
curious.
didn't get Andrews in there, so.
it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot. It was and honestly, I didn't plan on stopping until it was done. So, if it's me that you're worried about, don't. I say continue on.
Okay, so I will, number one, speak quickly, number two, invite people to say, yeah, it's fine, keep going. Or that you violently disagree, just so we know what something to thought about.
I'm sorry, if we can, questions, Chair. That this is a perfectly acceptable way of doing it. Would perhaps a better way be to just do round robin on each slide. That way we don't have to kind of keep in mind what somebody had said 2 persons ago about what the slide.
That's fine.
That's my suggestion last week.
Yeah.
Last month. Okay, I will start.
So we will do slide by slide with each person, and that would give. How many slides do we have?
73.
Yeah, so.
You don't have comments on every single slide.
Right, that's roughly, I'm gonna guess, probably somewhere around 30 seconds a slide. And that in terms of time, we have to read the entire document.
We shall do our best.
Start on slide 2.
Okay. Slide 2.
It's all.
Okay, slide 2, I think the ED committee members should be listed.
Agreed.
Unanimous
Agreed.
comment.
Anything more?
No,
Slide 2.
nor.
Slide. I don't have anything until 7.
I have something on slide 6. I want to assure you that, I understand what the term community colloquially means. What I would respectfully suggest is that in the context of this particular draft plan, that it probably would be more useful to refer to a community of residents, commercial and industrial businesses, or just have a definition in the index or wherever that.
I agree.
That's what it is.
I like that too.
Thank you.
Now, how do we get that done? Who does that?
Well, we talked about that as well. I think what would be.
We want to make sure.
appropriate-
Unless you want to do it.
No, I
No,
don't.
I think what would be appropriate is that as we go through with the recommendations that we have, because we're essentially trying to consolidate everybody's comments. That where you have noted a change, that you would submit that change directly either to Christian or make a change in the document yourself to expedite the process.
If you guys are okay, I will after I add Andrew's, yes,
Okay.
his information in here.
Mhm.
Then I'll make it available online for editable, so
Okay.
that we can go through, and I'll keep the original version, that way we have it, but you can sit there and make modifications, changes to it as we go.
Right. That would make it a lot.
Did you agree with that work?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you said.
Well, that means you gotta do this. What you just said,
Mhm.
you'll need to go to the document. And go to that.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, but make sure I understand what you want, okay? All right.
It's slide.
Did you have anything before 7? Andrew?
No, I was good there.
You?
No, I didn't before 7.
Okay, fine.
7, I've got a number of factual changes which can be read. I don't think they should read. But then also the bottom of the page that I distributed, I would strongly like to see that the goal being amended to say, wow, we want to develop great economic development, while at the same time minimizing the impact on Stonecroft residents from increased traffic or environmental degradation.
Say that again?
He's on the
He's got it right here. It's on the next page, second page.
Right at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, like,
Oh,
Yeah.
so, I think. I just think we need to say economic development essentially will not be at the expense of environmental havoc.
okay, now, this, I have a question here. When we start editing the consultant's plan,
You don't,
okay, okay,
these are recommendations
Okay.
and will be added to the final.
gotcha,
The
okay.
appendices.
All right.
Anybody
It's-
have any problem with that?
I.
No, I don't have a
I'm
problem. I
not
just,
exactly on board with that, Christian, but I think we can defer that question.
yeah, what I'm trying to make sure that we do as we go through these is that we understand them to be inputs to their development department and council, and perhaps suggestions to their consultants, but that we don't expect to take liberties in terms of changing the consultant's document.
We can't, but we, again, I'm not sure I'm totally on board with that
Okay.
statement. I do think that there are certain parts of the consultant's draft which just are. Need to be.
They must be changed, but we ourselves cannot edit.
Right, that's the only one that I'm, is
Okay.
that we can make these recommendations, we
I
can
mean,
note
To
them.
make the recommendations to the consultant in the first instance.
And I think that it's very smart for you to do that. I agree, 100%.
Okay.
Additionally, on number 7, I would like to see something that says, we're also gonna minimize the impact of the green spaces. And trails, et cetera.
I have no problem with that part. And what were the other things that you had here? I haven't seen before.
On set.
Minimize the impact from increased traffic or air.
Yeah, that's fine.
Other degradation.
I saw that before. In your-
You mean the four before it, Bernie?
Yes,
That refer to 7?
yeah,
Oh, these were factual comments about what they said. They misstated about the tax payment, so the tax payments would start like when the construction was complete or something like that.
Mhm.
They've already started. Also, I think it's worth adding, no portion of the project has been commenced.
oh, you're talking about the, this balance project?
Yes.
Okay.
Additionally, the factual correction to the Home Depot warehouse was not a Target site. And, I also think the additional DCs next to Home Depot under construction should be mentioned.
Right. All right, I don't disagree. I agree with what David said. I'm just gonna summarize what I say, which is fairly lengthy about slide 7. It needs to understand how there was a conflation of, well, the confusion about the origin or the prior use or not use of the, Home Depot website, because they talk about Target in the previous paragraph with respect to this now. However, it's really important, I think, for them to go back and do a little bit more research.
Okay.
Because what we have there in that particular area of the planned industrial district is not just one warehouse. It is a warehouse district, which has been made possible by development of highways and everything else. I don't need to go into that here.
Mhm.
But we're gonna end up there probably with 5 warehouses. We already have another warehouse that's nearing completion. It's gonna have PepsiCo in it. So this is really important stuff, and I don't really think the consultant was aware of that. The other thing, and I've talked with Dave and I think Christian about this. Regardless of whether you like warehouses or trucks or industrial parks,
Mhm.
what the bigger takeaway, I think, from this is to analyze it and take it as a model. To realize that if you're going to get anything that's really significant, really big and really good in Stonecrest, it's gonna take a lot of effort. A lot of pieces that have to come together of the puzzle, and it's gonna take years. That to me is the overall conclusion that should be derived from that, and I don't think that that's made clear in the consultant's report. But one thing I really do want to see them do is talk about the overall several hundred acres which are served by these new developmental highways, where there are 2 new warehouses and there are going to be 3 more.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I got no argument with that.
Next.
Any more of the 7?
Anybody for
8,
No, I'm not on it.
9, 8?
Bernie has 8.
Yeah, just a minor correction, or observation about exactly when it was that the city was granted its charter. I'm not sure that's an accurate statement, but, I would point out, and I know it may seem a little bit like quibbling, is that really of all the people who are sitting at this table, I'm probably the only one who was actually part of the effort to create the city. And I can tell you that I never heard anybody talk in terms of, well, let's get it going so we can control the industry. What always was a conversation in terms of partnership.
Mhm.
To improve the quality of life and the economy for
I
everybody.
think that's a correction that should be made.
Thank you.
So you're looking, you're referring to your underline here.
Yeah,
The word
exactly.
control. Okay.
Just that word,
Number 9, I mean,
a joint control, if you will.
anyone for
Okay.
8?
No, that was.
No, that's fine.
9 for me, they say that the plan provides immediate, short-term and long-term recommendations. I would like to see consultants add a summary of recommendations by timeframe.
You know, 1 to 5 years, 3 to 5.
They say less than 1, 1 to 3, and 3 to 5. I'm fine with their categories.
But you wanna see them in one place, like in a.
You want to make a summary of each
Yeah,
of
Make
those
it
categories.
clear, yeah.
I will say in general, I think the presentation of recommendations would benefit greatly from an introduction that says, well, slide says, recommendations are in 3 areas: organizational stuff, focus area stuff, and whatever the bullets are, because they just don't call it out. They don't give you a roadmap to the slides that are coming.
It especially falls off in the organizational infrastructure section of slides. That's where it really starts to get kind of like, what, okay, organizing what, you know, so I totally agree for that reason. And then additionally, as I think about it now, there were places where I saw recommendations that maybe didn't show up.
At the end.
Yeah, at the end, it was kind of like, wait a minute, so yeah, like rather than us, you know, nitpicking go through 73 slides to figure out where that was in the interest of the time. Just have them do it and make sure that we're clear on everything that they want to say to the council.
So in terms of input to economic development on the document that they're submitting, I'm hearing 2 types, and I'm wondering, I'm asking the question really, will there be any value in segmenting, you know, content versus what I'll call stylistic pieces? So that they're not running together. It seems like it would be a little bit confusing to jump from stylistic things to correction.
In the actual plan itself.
No, I'm saying, yeah, the recommendations. I'm saying if they are making recommendations about stylistic changes to which is what this one sounds like. To the
Yes, it's a
document,
recommendation to change to the presentation, not
Right.
the context.
right, not the content of the plan.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if there is any I'm asking the question, is there any value in segregating things that are stylistic versus things that are content?
It gives you if I may. Having the recommendations called out, separately as a whole,
Mhm,
and with timelines.
mhm.
I think it's a legitimate request. I think it's easy. It's an easier way for a person who, I don't know if you're familiar with the DISC survey, but a person with a high D wants. They want to see it fast. I don't want to read 73 slides to get to the point.
Right.
And I think that's probably what you're talking about.
Right, I agree with that. I'm asking if the document that we submit needs to have that segregation in it. In other words, the documents that you're recommending, the changes that you're recommending, does the stylistic and content things need to be segregated?
I don't think so.
I don't have
I
nothing
think
wrong.
we can give them in its entirety and trust editorial and technical content to both staff and the consultant. Because some of these are very general in nature, they need to hear, like Bernie's comments are sweeping.
Right.
And so I think them having that, they'll know how to put that into the narrative.
Okay.
You know, but I do think a recommendation summary with a timeline,
Agreed.
because when we
Yeah.
did the parks plan, and I'll say this quickly, that's what did it for us. There were hundreds of pages, if you remember, but there was a section committed to listing the recommendations by park and the time and a possible budget number that went with it. And that was tremendously helpful to citizens. Yeah.
Well, that's why in our last meeting, I was pretty steadfast on the survey over the recommendations.
Yes.
Because I wanted the feedback. I wanted first, do you agree, do you disagree? Which is a big deal. And followed by, what are your comments about it? Because these are recommendations that are here, and myself and the consultant. I want to know, because I'm planning for next year. I'm planning 1, 3, 5 years right now. And so I'm trying to be as proactive as possible while also giving feedback to the consultant so that they can provide the best document they can with your feedback and your comments. So that we get the best plan that we can, because our current comments and questions are great, but I think that we're gonna do this again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So let's-
You got your answer.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, next, I have nothing until 13.
Nothing until 13.
Anybody before 13? My 13 is the word's new identity and brand for the city is needed to shake up the stigma of past scandals. My God, for that English and say what you really mean. And I used to be a marketing guy.
Yeah,
I always thought it should have been the cities of Arabian Nights.
Whatever. That's my only one on 13. I have nothing until 19.
Well, ask the founder, you should have done it then.
Yeah,
Okay.
18? Oh, by the way, I agree with you on that. On 13. 18? All right, this is probably one of the biggest gaps, I think, in the plan. There's a sweeping statement here, and it's a little bit ambiguous. The area remained a predominantly African-American community and unincorporated after 2016. Well, I'm not sure whether that the area refers just to Flat Rock, and that would be a true statement.
That's a true statement, yeah.
Or it refers to the entire Stonecrest Livonia area. If it's the latter, if they're referring to the latter, I mean, that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what has happened here over the last 60 years. If you go back to the 64 comprehensive plan in DeKalb County, the residential density in this area, in all of southeast DeKalb, was less than one person per 10 acres. And there's been a tremendous increase in residential density, obviously, as well as a sweeping demographic shift. So that it is predominantly African-American and a lot more people. To understand how we got to the point we are, where we have conflicts over things like Metro Green recycling, where we have chronic issues of trying to create a partnership between residential and industrial, and to try to fix some of the problems which have been created by the wholesale creation of residential subdivisions right up next to industrial. You've got to understand how it got there. And
I agree with your changes.
thank you. The plant, and there are two things I would ask, that there be a distinction drawn and a terminology in the plan, which I think is entirely accurate and leads to more insight. Think, number one, a recognition of the fact that we have the largest planned industrial district in the county. They were created by the county in the early 1960s. They actually floated a bond issue to promote industrial development in these things. It's all part of the 1964 comprehensive plan. And so we have a planned industrial district. That's important because it's always been there. It's also important to note that it's not just Lithonia Industrial Park. Lithonia Industrial Park came along after the planned industrial district was placed, after many of the industries were in place already, the quarries. It was created in 1965. That's when it was built. Then it was a subdivision, it was platted of record, but it's only part of the PID. And if we can start thinking in those terms of, we actually have two PIDs. We also have one over at Snap-Ringle Woods Industrial Park, where Metro Green Recycling is. If we could start thinking in those terms and then look at the residential that's needed near there and say, what do we do to deal with this? And recognize that the PIDs have always been a reality. And it's not just a matter of, well.
You're past slide 18 if you're talking about what to do with it.
I'm sorry?
You're past slide 18.
Oh, he's suggesting that we add this, I think. is-
I'm saying that,
Yeah.
add the concept
On
of
18.
PID. And also add a distinction, say it's make clear as part of slide 18. Lithonia Industrial Park is not the industrial area.
And you'll be editing that into his sheet. Anybody disagree?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
But by the way, I'm gonna try to cut off questions and I'm gonna be an asshole when I apologize.
Go for it.
You're shouting, you're
we will resist you if we need to.
Yeah, and we were trying to keep, because it's a public meeting.
But anyway, I appreciate being
Trying to
here.
explain colorful language.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Okay. Anything on 18? 19, George, Dave?
19, there's, okay, Yeah, the list of key destinations is missing several. Additionally, I have another comment that really goes to another slide. We'll get to 47 when we get to the development of tourism. I listed about 10 additional key points of interest.
Okay.
So that should be expanded. Additionally, in general, the consultants do not seem to understand the difference between the Arabian Mountain National Heritage Area and Arabian Mountain and Stonecrest and God knows what else. They refer, they're just wrong. Their language around the heritage area just needs to be corrected.
No, so my concern with all of this is not accuracy. My concern is we're writing this thing. I'm getting a little concerned that we're writing it. I don't think we're quite there yet. I just feel like we're getting close and we're giving them back a written plan. So but these are all essential things. Like those are big misses, but I'm like,
We're giving them back what we think they should have said for them to decide how to do it. They could take what we write and put it in, or they could say, well, not exactly this, I don't like the way that's phrased, to do something else, or they could reject it.
well, right, okay.
I mean, this is all this input that we're making.
Well, no, they're, okay, right. No, I agree with that.
Committee or individual.
Or individually, and then, yeah,
That was 19 for me.
we got the right story. Okay, got it.
19 for me, I've already, Dave was right, I already covered part of it. I do want to point out this, because it may seem like a minor point, it's not. The slide says, the plan says, there are active quarries in Stonecrest.
not
That's
accurate.
just not true.
Not true.
There are 3 major granite quarries in southeast DeKalb County. The 3 active quarry or collection of quarry pits are all unincorporated in DeKalb County.
Okay.
East of east of the city of Livonia. We do have about close to 400 acres of Heidelberg Materials Quarry in Stonecrest. What happens there is processing. Crushing, sorting, washing, administration, and selling. But the granite that they get is way over on the other side of SR 120. Well, why does that matter? It matters because on a broader scale, and I think I suggest this elsewhere, the plan seems to be parochial or too limited in that it's not taking into account the impact of the activities in unincorporated DeKalb County or Lithonia for that matter, that are inextricably part of our economic development and our economy. And that shades over also to the National Heritage Area. The National Heritage Area takes in all of this and much more in our counties. And if we're going to talk about something here, which there's pieces of it in the plan, but the exact term is missing. Recreational tourism as an industry of here in Stonecrest, you've got to look at not just the pieces of the heritage area and the attractions like Arabian Mountain that are in Stonecrest, you've got to look at everything else that's out there.
Respectfully, you're getting to slide 47.
Thank you.
Yeah, I noted the same thing.
So I'll again say, anybody disagree?
As well, 29, slide 29.
Well, I guess the only question that I would have about, and if I understood you correctly, about the distinction between what's in Stonecrest proper, the city limits of Stonecrest, as compared to or including references to things that are outside the city limits of Stonecrest that are unincorporated DeKalb. I mean, how far do we want to take that?
If they directly impact, like the 2 parts of the line.
Well, they do. I mean,
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
absolutely. Stonecrest, for instance, the business tax, the business permit for Heidelberg Material is based upon everything that Heidelberg does, not just the processing in Stonecrest, but also the quarry over in unincorporated county by joint agreement between the county and the city. Okay, that the city gets the revenue from that. So that right there is a perfect example of how they're joined at the hip.
That's very important.
Yes. That's 19. Anybody else on 19?
No.
20, my comment, there are two maps that are unlabeled, that have no labels, it'd be helpful to label them. Because I couldn't quite figure out what they are, and I know Bernie has a lot of detail about what they might be trying to say.
Well, I can cover it very quickly. First of all, please include Stonecrest Industrial Way as a 4-lane road. It's a developmental highway.
It's a 4-lane
That's
road.
critical. One of the maps, the first map, is about, well, the draft says that CSX serves the northern part of Stonecrest. Again, there's a failure here. And it's understandable, I think, to recognize that there's actually a complex of rail spurs
Mhm.
in the planned industrial district, which branch off of, include, of CSX, and a switch yard,
Right,
a big switch yard. This could be built upon as for any number of things for economic development. As far as the maps go, I don't understand what the purpose of the map colored blue of Stonecrest is. It's not labeled, as Dave says. The other map purports to show the rail facilities. It's totally out of date and incorrect. It shows a couple of long rail spurs which no longer exist and so forth. So it needs to either be discarded or the effort needs to be made to update it. But it is misleading and it's not, and it's less than helpful at this present. And
So your point is that it does exist, it's just not functional right now, so.
What? Actually,
Those
no,
spurs?
there are road beds out there,
Mhm.
which actually are, I believe, are interrupted.
Okay.
Parts of them have not just had the rails and ties taken up, but the actual land's been abandoned.
Okay,
So, no, they don't exist. What does exist and is not shown on the map is the switch yard, the 2 new rail spurs for the Home Depot warehouse, the rail spur for Radius Recycling,
Okay.
and so forth. So I know they must have gotten it from DeKalb County, but it's absolutely unusable. So, and the third one is, I don't know what it's supposed to do. Why are those roads roads outlined in yellow? I don't know. It'd be great, as Dave says, tell us, and then we can look at it again, criticize it, but if it's supposed to show major truck routes, which I suspect, it doesn't do that.
so you need a legend for the maps.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I'd like to add one point, man. Okay. Should the maps of the 4-lane roads indicate those roads that the transportation master plan says will become 4-lane in the future?
Yes,
That'd be good.
if there are any.
If there are any maps,
If there are any roads which are not yet 4-lane roads, but the master transportation plan
says that they
says
will.
should be, I'm not sure those exist. Or even road.
I'm betting Turner Hill Road south of Mall Parkway.
I think.
Well, yeah, and I want to just caution us, okay, as we're making recommendations, please be prepared for things that are not there. That we've got a source document that we can refer to rather than.
Yeah. Right. In this case, would be the transportation.
I bet I'll send photographs.
That's right.
Okay.
Maps.
I have
Oh,
nothing for
I'm sorry, we're on 20?
Yeah.
I had one thing for 20. If I recall correctly, it mentioned our $1 million for the transportation hub for MARTA.
Yes.
So what I wasn't clear on is the MARTA funding, the funding that Senator Ossoff and Warnock got for the city of Stonecrest. It could be a fiscal year funding source, meaning that it would be 12 months based on whenever their fiscal year is. Typically, that's from October to September 30th.
our fiscal year is calendar year.
Okay, ours is calendar, okay, so that helps. Then also the funding can be greater than a year in some instances. So my question was very simply, has a timeline been established for the use of those funds?
Wow, that's definitely drilling down, in terms of looking at Sullivan. But
Look,
that's a good
we're
question.
given history and rail spurs and all, I just want to know
Yeah.
if we have established that timeline, because typically with funding like that, it could be a use it or lose it, and I don't want us to be
And this
unaware
is
of that.
something that's mentioned on the slide already.
Well, not to the detail that I.
Right, but there's.
Yeah,
a reference.
yeah, but there's a reference,
Makes
yeah.
sense to me.
yeah,
It's a good question.
that's worth ferreting, because right now, as we speak this moment, there was an article where the MARTA
It makes
director.
sense. It
He
makes
said
sense.
it, but it hadn't happened yet, so I just want to get a
Yeah.
timeline on that, yeah,
That
time
might be.
check. Oh, okay, yeah, time check on that and on this.
Okay, I have nothing to say on 21.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 21 and 22.
You talking pipeline.
Whatever. Did we decide, somebody decide whether the percentage of black residents in the city is 91% or 94.5%? Because those two slides, one says one says the other.
We have to pick one.
Anything else on 22?
Just that, and this is a quick recommendation for them. I recommend that if it is true that 61% of households have children, I think it was in 26 and 35 or something along those lines, that they make some discussion about the idea of a community rec center with a community pool and natatorium out by the mall area. I think that would be real cool, just me making a recommendation. They can investigate it or not, but we have grown to the point where I think we can support that level of recreational development on the mall side of town. And since we're talking about redevelopment, I think it should
Be, be aware that New Farrington Park's master plan includes both of those, which with I kind of disagree. but
right. Well, no, I hear
Yes,
you.
it
I
does.
hear you. I hear you on that. I just want to suggest.
That's what I Parks and Rec thing though,
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe to make yourself.
Right.
Well, then maybe I'm just suggesting it to you, maybe, pick that ball up. I know each park can have its own master plan, but just in general, we're talking about redevelopment for that area. I think it.
Well, I'm adding on to their plans now, so yeah, definitely, they're gonna have those discussions.
Okay.
Anyway, so.
Any more on 22?
No,
23?
yeah, me again. Okay. Yeah, I had something really quick through 23. It was really more of a question for you, Christian. I'm just parking here. Are we able to get any sense of landlords who have buildings that may not be in full use, right? In a 24-hour day. So maybe they've got prime use from 9 to 3, and then in the evenings they don't. The reason I bring it up is because when we talk about the programming for families and program providers, which is a economic development issue because our families need that kind of support. Not every program provider needs a lease to own and manage a full building. Some of them just need a little bit of time in the church, a little bit of time in the office complex, a little bit of time in the lawyer's office, a little bit of time in.
So the recommendation is
quarter.
to identify properties that are available part-time.
Oh, yeah, and make folks aware of.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what's in your
that's
document.
it. That's in my document.
Okay, all right. Next one.
Might be outside of the scope of them, but
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
24, I think that. Number one, I don't understand why all those schools are listed in relevance of the school in Kennesaw or Athens to Stonecrest, but if I say it's relevant. I'm sure they're right. I would like to see the local schools separated from the.
That's a good catch. Yeah.
Sorry, that was 24.
That was 24, right?
Well, I agree, that reads more like a brochure for marketing purposes,
Yeah.
rather than something that's changed to a development plan.
As if they said Metro Atlanta and all the schools. that-
Anybody for 25? 26. Noting we have a 12% vacancy rate, which would be 1,100 vacant housing units. I would like a suggested recommendation, the city should undertake a campaign as needed and fill those units. I think I meant fix, to rehabilitate as needed and fill those units. This could provide a great deal of additional housing without the first shovel being lifted. And as Christian will attest, pretty hard to buy a home in Stonecrest.
I think that.
Do we know who owns them?
Don't know where they are, don't know what they are, and I don't know anything about them except some things on old Hillendale, no. Crap. Or you know what I mean. Along the highway, north of it, condo complexes that are abandoned.
Oh, wow, you talking about on Covington Highway or Old Hillendale?
I take your point.
Yeah.
Of your input, I'm just contextualizing
Direct line.
the city's ability to do something. Okay,
So that's my recommendation,
Okay.
these would be 26.
Yeah, even if it, and here's the deal, even if it doesn't. The consultant doesn't make a certain change.
right,
All of these comments are gold
right,
to me,
right, they are.
and they are and will be incorporated into the work plan.
Thank you.
So. Don't. And I'll be right on the record, I don't care how you spend it.
Right.
It's gonna be your comments and all of that will be incorporated into the economic development strategic plan that's submitted to the council.
Any more on 26?
No, I'm good.
27, some proofreading. Believe me, you like it, but also 27, I think it would be good to list on that slide the number of apartments, townhomes, houses, and planned for developments already permitted. That's a slide that talks about the increase in growth here, and there are probably thousands, low, like 2,000 new units that are permitted and under construction.
I think it's great, and I'm concerned that it wasn't in there. Just a little.
Anybody else on 27? 28. 29.
29 is where our pipes are.
And my pipe on it was the heritage area is not a natural asset and should be discussed elsewhere. Its footprint is not the same as Stonecrest, and while it should be called out as an asset, definitely. I think it's more important to state that Stonecrest contains many points of interest, e.g. the archive, and that the surrounding area includes many points of interest. And that's also a good place to say, to introduce the alliance.
That's where the majority of my comments centered, and that was slide 29. So I took a real good stab at giving you current verbiage narrative supported by NPS numbers right off of our website. And to me, this is what overridingly I didn't see in along my board and my founder. Outdoor tourism and recreation, the intersection of culture, nature, and history ranked number 1 on the governor's plan. It is only second to agriculture. So to not see the natural assets that define Stonecrest National Heritage Area be in here was a huge missing part. And so I took the time to write quite a bit. That is out of the narrative. They shouldn't have to recreate that or confirm it and go to our websites. Our management plan is referenced. But thank you two for carrying the water on saying the same thing, because it kind of ties this region together. You come out here for a couple things to do. History and nature are absolutely at the top of the list. Before there was a new city, that's why people took the trip down 20 and to come to amazing jobs in this industrial complex. So,
But it's only been converted.
well, I would say that it is and it isn't. I mean, the governor knows. I've been in Forbes Condemnation to Traveler. We're in the airport with front page of it.
But you're the spokesperson.
But I'm saying this in a sense that the tourism dollar for Georgia is carried by J. Mark Walker. Every other word is about the National Heritage Area that happens to be in Stonecrest. So beside the cab, discover the cab. I just don't want us to miss that other feather that came with creating the city. We were already those things. So I won't belittle the point. I try to give you the text.
I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Now, I agree with her. I would add to this. There is a failure, an absence in the report. To, first of all, acknowledge the existence, really, except for 1 or 2 throwaway mentions of the Arabian Mountain Heritage Area Alliance, which she is the executive director of. They have the status of having the contract from the Department of the Interior, the federal government, to manage the National Heritage Area, including Waters Farm, including Arabian Mountain, including everything in the National Heritage Area, and to promote recreational tourism and as well as maintain and preserve it. The city should be working hand in glove with the Heritage Area Alliance and be looking at working with them on the National Management Plan that was developed in 2006. It's a little bit out of date now, and trying to use that as a foundation for the recreational tourism industry in this city.
Slide 47.
Big miss, I agree.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I know you're just joining the party, all these things, you know.
Well, and so. I was here for the submission of the thing, and then I'm very interested in this, so.
Okay.
Right, we just gotta make sure we can get.
Anyone? All right. Slide 30. Slide 30.
I mean,
No, Dave, I didn't have anything.
Okay,
Okay.
31,
I know, I just said.
Oh.
5:30.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think it's a-
Ernie's on that.
Okay, draft coverage of the Stonecrest Mall area. This does not, again, does not look at the fact that it was recognized by the county as one of only two regional centers under the comp plan of the county. The other was perimeter.
I agree.
Perimeter.
That could be added.
Yeah.
It should be, it's really always been important ever since it was conceived 25, 30
Yeah,
years
look what
ago.
Habitat Perimeter Center has up there. It's very down.
That's
there.
right, and that the mall area is the core of the overlay district, which is designed to guide economic development, and that we have an LCI plan. And the LCI plan is outdated, data and should be large in anything that's
I
being
vote
done.
you put all that in balance for slide 30.
He's coming.
Yeah, Ernie, you got it.
31.
31, I was curious, what did 29% of Stonecresters are not in the labor force?
Okay.
Doesn't that strike anybody as a high figure? Not necessarily.
Maybe we can just ask them where they got it, like, substantiate that for us.
Yeah, I vaguely remember going through that data.
Stuck out to me too.
Well, no, what stuck out to me was that 29% are not in the age bracket that, or thereabout, 30% are not in the age bracket that they were looking at in the labor force, which is like 21 to 60 or something.
You do have a very high percentage.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Stonecrest,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that was,
I think it would behoove us just to know what's behind that.
Just
that
long
that
as,
was my interpretation.
just as long as they're not saying the housewives.
Well, they give somewhere in the age range that they're referring to in the labor pool. I can't remember exactly where it was, but that's where I deduced that, okay, they were probably.
So much for, okay, and my other 31 was. I'd like to see them make the numbers there more clear to really indicate that the first pair of columns is the number of Stonecresters employed in various industries. And the second, regardless of where they work. And the second column is the number of jobs in various industries within Stonecrest.
So you wanted to change that head, because I remember you asked that question, I think she answered it and confirmed with your
Sharp.
You can email.
I had those same questions.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what that was telling,
That's good.
you know.
Yeah.
And then if there are things you can quote on the bottom where these were taken from recently, let's share that, because there'll be a hard eye focus on Stonecrest when this plan comes out. And we want to make sure that these things are true and accurate.
Yes.
Department of Labor, if it's an employment office, whoever's reporting, let's please make sure those are correct, so that our mayor looks the best that she can.
And
There are no footnotes.
No. And I was draft, so I know they're not done, so I'm not saying cover.
Yeah.
But they were, yeah. Go on.
32, sorry, any more on 31?
No, it's good.
32. 33, I noted half a dozen missing projects from that, including the additional DCs on Stonecrest Industrial Way, on Covington Highway, this east of Stonecrest. Again, indicative of marketing that's on Stonecrest. The battery recycling plant at Stonecrest for 50 million at 180 per job. Footnote as to where that's from.
Excellent.
Those are huge.
Yeah, good catch.
All
Those
great.
are economic indicators that make me come do business. I know that's it.
I'm getting more excited about Stonecrest, as we're having this conversation.
Well, that's what the plan's supposed to do.
Once you start finding out what we have.
But this is our story though, not the plan, so I guess we gotta get.
And just to speak
Gotta
for
start
Bernie,
somewhere.
just to speak for.
Can I make a comment
Yes.
just for this page? Hey, I'm still here.
Hey.
I just think they could have took advantage of putting some logos or something, just making this page just a little bit more exciting than just listing them.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I mean, use the numbers, use the investment amount, something, just make it a little bit more interesting. It's kind of boring. I mean, it just doesn't tell you the value of these types of projects in the city. Not every city can claim this many projects and at these amounts. So that's my suggestion. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Where is they?
No.
Yeah, you're gonna write, I'm gonna hit no.
Let's see. Oh, perfect.
All right, 32. 4:35.
Let me move,
Okay, you're not Bernie on
let me
34.
speak for Bernie on 34 because I can say it faster. There's a shitload they didn't include over and above what I said, and we need to include it.
You covered it in the
Covered it
earlier,
earlier.
yeah,
Yeah, PepsiCo, et cetera. Developmental highway, rail spurs.
yes, indeed.
35, my comment was asked and answered about the tables. It's the same thing.
Yep.
36, look, this is me being picky. But the table showing the population by race in Stonecrest begins with white. That's inappropriate for this. It reflects the culture of the country, not the culture of us, and I would like to see them recognize that and change.
Why don't we just say it should begin in alphabetical order?
It still gets us up top. We either AA or B. Well, AA, okay, or B, okay. Point well taken, Jimmy.
Well, if you're gonna say that, then switch male and female.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm getting in the weeds. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
I got another, two more on 36, which is that they say there's roughly 24,000 people in Stonecrest with jobs.
Mhm.
That seems low to me, that there are 60,000 residents, of which 37% are either unemployed or not in the workforce.
We've been in
That,
trouble,
that leaves numbers that don't add up.
yeah.
So I'm just, there's some, they need to qualify some of their numbers, that's what they mean. Are these just adults, or are they just something else?
Well, yeah, the way I interpreted this was 25,000 people with jobs in Stone. Jobs in Stone,
Okay.
not residents.
No, this was residents who have jobs. It was the first pair, first
In
column.
Stonecrest.
No, sorry, residents of Stonecrest, right, who have jobs in the world anywhere.
Okay.
We clarified that.
They just they gotta clean that up.
So,
Quick, yeah, but I'm sorry.
these numbers just don't seem to add up.
Right. Quick question, and since we've got some folks who deal with demographics in the room. How do they count entrepreneurs? So when they say not in workforce, are they including entrepreneurs that are clearly contributing? Okay.
Probably not, yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good point, because I made a point in the answers to the survey, which is not part of this. All right. If you look at, this is a sore topic generally, the parking lots, which lease spaces to truck drivers that are up in the planned industrial district. My information is that most of those are entrepreneurs in the sense that they're small businessmen and women. They're owner operators of their own business. And to me, if you're going to be talking about small business people in Stonecrest, you need to find out who these people are, how many there are, and you need to identify them, maybe not so incidentally. Ask them to pay for business licenses.
It's gonna come up. That's a business license issue.
There's
It's a tracking issue that we have.
There are two primary reasons for this information being quote unquote validated.
Yeah.
That is the economic census that the US Census Department takes. They list folks with just one employee or two employees, so they may be in the number. And the other source would be business license. And
But
so
that's a real problem.
if they haven't gotten business licenses,
Right.
they're not being counted.
right, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that the level of specificity that you're looking for, I'm saying, I don't know what numbers that they went to get this number.
Let's find out.
Right,
Right,
but
let's ask.
the numbers in terms of individual entrepreneurs, even people that are working, that classify themselves as working at home.
Right.
The census captures that information.
I think these people are being grossly undercounted.
They may be.
Undercounted, but I think they're also a
Give me
big
context.
part of our economy in the Stonecrest area.
We've gotta tighten up the business
I don't know
license
if they're
part of
big,
that.
but it's a part.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Okay, so the census does capture that. That's one.
And here's we have, I'm gonna say, these numbers are not right. We have 1,200 people who live in Stonecrest and work in public administration. There are 8 public administration jobs in Stonecrest and the 2020, thanks to Jacobs, but I don't know why that works that way. But
Makes sense to me, but.
my question is, and I'm using only this was an example because it's extreme and I know the numbers. Should economic development try to create jobs, public administration jobs? I know we can't. but maybe, you know, shoe shine jobs, whatever it is. If we have people who are leaving Stonecrest to be engineers somewhere,
Mhm.
and there were no engineering jobs at Stonecrest, should we try to create engineering jobs so our people do not have to commute?
But that's a strategic choice that the economic development department made in terms of what they would focus on. But what I think is,
Actually, I only focus on strategic plan.
right, but what I'm saying is that when you look at the strategic plan, when you look at the industrial makeup of the jobs as an example. You can make a decision on where you wanna attract industry or attract business. If you wanted to attract a federal installation as an example, because you've got X number of employees, people who live in the city who have those skill sets. You could make a choice to say, okay, we need to talk to whatever government agency that might be close or might have interest here. Because if we can bring that here, we can have employees. that
I
work.
don't think he can make that choice.
No, I'm saying,
unless-
he could- from a planning perspective, in terms of the economic development department.
I
he can make that
don't
choice.
think he can
We
make
can
that
plan for the
choice.
sectors
Yeah.
that we should attract in this city.
Yeah.
That would make people.
He can make
either
that
here work
He
or
can't make that
move here
call
to live here.
unless the plan says public administration is part of the 6 target.
But in public, when you talk about public administration.
But-
Well, this is a whole other time on class.
Right.
Right, it is.
Aviation.
There are a whole lot of
Oh,
numbers.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the only point that I'm making is that as industries are lined up. And Stonecrest makes a strategic decision that that is the sector we want to target. To bring in those businesses or those government agencies, I'm saying the economic development has the ability to make that call.
Okay,
Or make that recommendation.
so I'm saying, should there be a recommendation in the plan that we do that sort of thing? Look
Well,
at,
right, well, I think they listed in the plan what they were recommending as the priority.
yes,
Right, government didn't fall into that.
yes.
Yeah, government. difference.
And two of the ones they recommend at least are in ones where there are a surplus of workers and a deficit of jobs.
Right.
Health, and I forget the other one, but there are a couple where there is that difference that they don't recommend.
That's one of the reasons why I called out the retail piece.
Right.
Right, it's one of those where. In the past, economic development focuses on high wage earning jobs, the higher wage earning jobs, but. However, you have in areas where you have a lot of retail, I came from that as well.
Mhm.
You know, you factor that into your number figure, so, for instance. Where I came from, we attracted and worked and incentivized a $1.5 billion resort. Everything now that resort, the average jobs are well under average income of those jobs is well under $44,000 a year, which is the minimum requirement that we do to incentivize jobs. However, because it is creating literally then do you do that? And that's one of the things for me, I look at, I want to steer you, but from a retail perspective, I look at experiential retail. And look at that from that standpoint. I know that because of the plan that was put forth for sports complex in that area, to tie that in with that, right, is really something that big part of, what you could do. Now, is it again,
Which plan was that? I'm sorry.
what's that?
This was, yeah, you remember, it wasn't a part of an economic development plan, this was a plan that some entrepreneurs had to do with sports complex.
Oh, fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That wasn't directed at Vaughn.
No, I just, I'm just saying, that was, all I'm saying is I knew that was part of the plan, I don't know. Right. I've been here for a month.
Right.
So I wanna know, I want your feedback.
Right. It was never part of a plan, I mean,
Right.
other than those particular entrepreneurs pursuing that particular. It was never part of the city's plan for economic development.
But please, in your comments, put this stuff down, because it needs to be there.
I have nothing until 48.
We got 42.
It is
Bernie.
7:30. We can make a decision to extend this meeting farther than 7:30. How far do you think we are in this conference?
I actually think we're about 3/4, maybe.
I think so.
Your comments as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So we want to extend another half an hour, to get this done, or do we want to defer?
Let's do it.
Keep going.
Okay,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
Do we need a motion for that, or can we just do it?
No, we can just do that, yeah. Okay.
So
Hmm?
42?
42. that's-
All right, I'll try to summarize this. We have an LCI plan. LCI plans are rare and wonderful things. They don't, the ARC does not give LCI plans to just anybody. It only does 1, 2, or 3 a year. They are economic, strategic economic development plan for a particular territory within some local government. The business community in the Stonecrest Mall Regional Center back in 2011, 2012, worked very hard in conjunction with the county to get the ARC to do this. It established an economic development plan for the area, the study area. That is still there. Now, the plan set 2 conditions for moving forward with being able to update the plan and start going back to the ARC for federal funding. 1 condition, get a CID. We have a CID, the East Metro. The other was major overhaul of the Stonecrest overlay text map. That was done. That was done as of November of 2019, and then it got into.
You're clear to ask for an update.
The city should by now have asked the ARC for an update. We are clear to ask for an update. We're satisfied with it.
Your recommendation is that we do.
Yes, and take into account Bill Allen.
And that's all.
Exactly so. So that's my recommendation. That's why I think it needs to be done. And by the way, Mr. Irons' proposal was completely inconsistent with the LCI plan. So if something
Couldn't
like
let
that
it go.
comes in, it should need to be updated.
You couldn't let it go. You said it.
No, I like both. All right. Okay, and I love it. Anyway, the ULI technical assistance plan.
Right.
Unfortunately, the draft plan just completely is off the mark. What that panel's report was about. By the way, I and a client participated in that. The recommendation basically was, you, the CID, need to understand that most of the businesses you have in the study area, Wesley Chapel, Panola, which are viable, are industrial. Second, you need to be concentrating on this. Third, you need to foster a partnership between the residents and the industry. None of that has been done, to my knowledge.
So you're recommending strategy here.
Well, I'm just saying yeah, I'm saying that.
So you drop the reference to a trailhead park and ride along Klondike Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that doesn't belong there. Okay, that's not part of that. It's nowhere near Klondike Road. Somewhere Wesley Chapel, no road.
Okay, so
Yeah,
got it.
yeah, but basically, it's something that's still out there and should be done. It could still be implemented, and really it's in.
What's the recommendation?
The recommendation is to go back, take another look at the ULI panel report and to accurately summarize what it does, because it can be applied to all of the industrial areas in the city of Stonecrest. Okay?
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
It's a great idea. Get president of
Okay,
the industry
that's-
talking, Bernie. Okay.
Bernie, you were up for 43?
Yeah, 43, oh yeah, look, this. Maybe that's what the draft means when it says Stonecrest has developed some industry. But literally taken, that's not true. Local government was not involved at all in creating the industrial council, as it wasn't with the Heritage Alliance, purely a private nonprofit. And that is really important to realize in the context of, okay, who does what? Whose role is it to, for instance, to organize a CID? Is it local governments, or is it the business association that was formed to do that? So anyway, that is a great thing. I give the history, I don't need to do that.
Right, so you're really looking for clarification here, because they just say Stonecrest and you want to make it clear that it's not a city.
All they need to do is say the Stonecrest Industrial Council was established by private stakeholders.
Yeah,
within
clarify.
the
You will be making
industrial-
that.
Yeah, they could add a lot more, but I would be content if they at least acknowledged that it was not done by local government.
Okay.
Okay,
Paragraph 7.
which one?
7. Brownfields.
On the second page. You're a secretary.
43 Brown.
We don't have any brownfields, okay, not in the sense of toxic waste dumps. And if they go to, now, beside the cab recently came out with an inventory of brownfields. But if you look at what they really mean, they mean things like dilapidated properties.
And that's
properties. that need to be
EPA's
cleaned up.
definition of brown.
That's exactly right. I have looked at the.
So your recommendation is that brownfield be defined.
Fine.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Slide
Because otherwise,
44.
but this could actually discourage it about investment.
So make sure that you make, because I don't think that's in your narrative, so just make sure that you make a note that you're talking about definition of brown.
Yeah, well, that's, actually, I think I get it.
You do
Yeah,
say
yeah.
definition?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else on 43?
By the way, man, jump in real quick. There is a slide, and I think it might be slide 37. Which is something about organizational infrastructure, and has the city in the center in a circle.
We'll
And
get to that.
also,
We will get to that.
you haven't hit that yet.
We have not, no.
What page is that?
The recommendation.
It might be in the
That is 48.
48, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, so 44. 45. 46.
Is 45 entertainment?
45,
Yes. Okay, I don't really have a comment on that because I haven't seen the entertainment strategic, well, the draft entertainment strategic plan for the city. But these are similar to recommendations in our larger county plan. But yeah, I would definitely like to see that plan and see the map of these assets and make sure that the assets match up to the ones that we have in the larger plan. Because I do believe the consultant that did the entertainment strategic plan for the city is the same one that did it for the county. And I just want to see how those things match up. So Christian, when you get a chance, we can sit down and go over this, because there could be other things in our plan that they didn't actually, yeah.
But one thing, Shelby, you know,
thank you.
this document that we're working on now.
Mhm.
is The working plan that we are looking to.
Yes.
Go directly
Yes.
to,
Yes, and they just pulled out
Definitely.
some of the key things that the entertainment plan mentioned. They didn't pull out everything.
right, and I'm suggesting that.
I have no comment.
The template for the, that we would like to get through council regardless of the channels that it goes through. That we want to make sure that you input that into that template. You know what template I'm referring to?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was sent out yesterday, I think it was, yeah, it was intended to go out on the 3rd, but it went out yesterday. So I want to make sure that piece, because I think it's a big piece, I noticed that myself, but I was gonna defer to your input on that. Okay,
Where are we?
40, we're on 40. No, we've got, I thought we were at 47.
Okay, that's what I thought. On 47. Tourism is,
Wait, I'm sorry, Dave, before we go off of 44.
Yeah, okay.
And I sent this to you on the city of Stonecrest Transportation and takeaways. Stonecrest has a robust trail facilities with the Erect Mountain Path and the South River Path. That part just isn't true. So I made a correction of that and one lined out what that should be. I'm sorry.
47.
hey, you might want to put a reference in that there's also a trails study being done.
I did add that as well.
On 47, tourism is listed under targeted economic sectors and industries, but there's little else said about it in the rest of the document other than tourist trails on page 71. If you, I mean, I searched for tourism, tourists, and this is about the only reference. So what I'd like to see is the development of tourism being fleshed out, specifically a recommendation pro or con for a visitor center, or a shuttle service to connect the mall and or a visitor center to places of interest, and recommendation pro or con for support, development, and marketing of places of interest, including Flat Rock Archives and Cemetery, the South River Water Trail, the Big Ledge Quarry, the Lions Farm, the old Ragsdale House, it's awaiting restoration, funded, but not started. The future botanical garden, if it is, the Stonecrest Winery, New Black Wall Street, Kirby, and Sequest.
Okay, so,
I agree with your list. though.
yeah, first let me say that, I agree. you guys correct me if I didn't see it. I also, when I read through the plan a couple of times, I didn't see any discussion about like cleaning up the South River at all.
Pretty clean now,
It's pretty good now.
unless there's been a heavy rainfall.
Okay, but that's,
That's Atlanta.
yeah.
That's Atlanta sewers.
Right.
True, but I do add the South River Trails, impact on economics and outdoor tourism and water trails in the stuff that I did add in.
Okay, good, thank you.
And I give Stonecrest the credit due for working with the South River Watershed Alliance to get the grant that's currently restoring that erosion control and those miles of bank and creating those 4 miles of path trails. That was done under the former leadership and this council approved it. And so SRWA was able to leverage that money and get that work going. I make mention of that too.
Yeah, the South River Water Trail should say it'd be more than just that.
Absolutely.
I'll get more for review, Jim. Additionally, I think there should be a recommendation on cross promoting cultural, historical, and natural areas that are often accessed from Stonecrest, but are not located here, such as the Bruce Street School. And I think that was the only one I listed. Okay, that goes to 63, 47.
Well, we got 50, did you do 53?
Not
No,
yet.
no, we're still on 47.
Okay.
Okay, that was just the question of cross promoting. Like Panola State Park, almost anybody going to Panola State Park from Atlanta or from I-20. I think this is true, is gonna go through Stonecrest.
Yeah.
And should we then try to promote that as a visit Stonecrest, blah, blah, while you're here, you can do that. Or not?
In that regard, Kelly has mentioned something to me about it. I know you know what it is. There's something about the trail in the monastery being extended all the way over to Stonecrest.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah, and that would be part of the Beltline concept too.
Right.
But it also ties in with what you just said, that we were actually talking about a more of a local regional network, including recreational tourism, but other, as I mentioned, other economic sectors on a southeastern DeKalb regional basis. That's really the way we should think.
And I did,
It's all one.
I would say on a Arabia Mountain National Heritage Area basis, because I think everything I named that's outside our
Is in the
borders
major.
is in the,
Yes. Yeah,
and there's more.
and I did give you quite a bit of narrative on that as well. Okay.
I'd love to see that.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, it's my dots separate. I got it in so late, I wanted to complete the assignment and just assume that it would all come to each of those.
Yeah.
Anything else on 47? 48 and 53, why are there no regional or state resources such as ARC listed in the organizational structure, which has Stonecrest at the center?
Exactly, and I'll say something else. I think it's the same slide. They've got industrial council, thank you very much. They've got the business alliance, thank you very much. They got the chamber.
Is there a recommendation for what they don't have and should put in?
Arabia Mountain Heritage Area Alliance. How was
Thank
that
you.
left out?
It's not relevant.
Right.
Relevant is your recommendation, which I think is excellent.
Along with ARC and state.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really want to give the consultant credit for at least having call outs around some of the bubbles so that you can see
Yes.
more specifically what each of those organizations bring into
Yes.
that link. Because if I'm looking
That
at
was
this
good.
business, that matters, power matters. And I'll drill in, so
Yes. Okay.
thank you for saying.
Okay, I have nothing else until 49, please. Anybody else on 48? 49, the list of duties seems too large for 2 people, is a 2-person department the appropriate size? I'd like to see a recommendation what the appropriate size is.
Well, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more of an action plan kind of thing. I think this one, just for sake of its clarity. The strategic plan rarely gets into those kind of numbers. That's really gonna be an operational decision that Christian will make, but in terms of what the
I
execution.
can believe this.
No,
Just a
I'll
point.
take it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 49, anyone else?
No.
50, suggested recommendation. Planning and zoning department should inform economic development all inquiries from new businesses. It's just a small thing, they have other things like that.
Yes, yes.
No, like,
And also, another suggested recommendation is a hot potato. I think business licensing should be moved from finance to ED. For a couple of reasons. ED has the biggest stake into business licensing being handled efficiently, which it is not and never has been in the city.
Just a point, another point.
yeah, Chris, you don't have to say
And that's,
anything.
yeah,
We're saying
that's more operational for the city as opposed to strategic planning. Because
Well, and
it's fine to keep it in there.
Does the charter allow them?
I don't know, but I will add another reason, which is that in the process of granting licenses, the economic development director could compile the data.
That's what.
And what I
And
said,
also
ED
ask
is
for more
the
data
the
with the license
department with
application.
the largest stake in speedy and efficient handling and has the greatest need for comprehensive and accurate data.
A lack of data about the industries and other things, other businesses we have in the city is our biggest problem. One of our biggest
One
problems.
of the biggest, yeah.
One of our biggest.
All right, 52. Was that 52?
That was 50. Wait, that's 50.
That was good.
Of course, I have 52.
Okay, yeah, you have 50. Was there a 51? Okay, 52.
52, the development authority should give high priority, this is another hot potato. High priority to ensuring that the land around the mall is developed and is developed in such a way as to be aligned with the goals stated in this plan. This may require dissolving the current agreement with the Allen family and.
I'm going to
Really gets
I'm going to disagree on a limited basis. Which is that the development authority's purview and focus should not be limited to the mall area. One of the things that I have tried to advocate for since the development authority was first formed in its first iteration, it should be looking at the industrial areas. And looking at the property available, buying property, financing, aggregating property, luring big, new, clean industries in that land. It hasn't happened. Now, maybe we need a separate industrial development authority. I don't know, but that's something that really should be taken into account. Otherwise, I agree with Dave.
And I'm gonna put that note in that it should focus on industrial involvement.
That's what we've done.
Well, again, you're going past the scope of the strategic economic development plan, but just keep note of it.
Whatever,
All right, I'm on,
and I got one more. For
Okay, go
52,
for it.
and I think you guys can comment this one down. The Stonecrest Development Authority should operate with as greater transparency as possible in order to build citizen engagement.
Yes.
yeah, I hate that one.
Okay, it's good. 53,
No, I just put 51 and 2 together.
Ah.
Kind of goes with what you said, so maybe it's not as necessary now, but I said that the SDA should add self-oversight. And I referenced an article that was written by the AJC this year, where the Senate Research Office completed their final report on development authorities. They were trying to significantly reform development authorities, fearing just what you mentioned a minute ago, transparency, right? They were defeated, but at the same time, they went forward and completed their research report, and they still made a set of recommendations. And I think in the interest of transparency, that we should review that, our SDA should review that and see what of those recommendations they can embody. So that's why I use the word self oversight, so that we can have transparency given our past.
and the purpose of the Economic Development Authority recommendations, in my mind, is that they will cause it to operate in such a way that will have the full faith and credibility of the citizens.
And the report already suggests training. So I'm just adding, in addition to training, let's also do what we can to be as nothing up our sleeves as possible. And the Senate report, which I do reference, does give some suggestions. And we might even be able to do better, but it does give some suggestions that I think we should consider. And then also, often what's missing with these things is the public report. I'm glad now that I'm hearing more people do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're hearing more people directing us to the website, and people who are publishing resources in ways that they can actually be found. It's a work in progress, but I think this all goes together with that. So I want to see that.
Okay, that's 52, right? 53.
Yeah, I'll sum this up. I would respectfully suggest to the consultant. That they should take a hard look. At what the East Metro, DeKalb CID has actually been doing. Versus what they say on their on the CID's website, which is more in the nature of what they want to do. And I'll say specifically transportation. If you go to the website, it says, this is what we do. Well, it's what is, they have the authority to do, and what they want to do, they haven't done it yet. And the problem is that the plan writes that up in a way to indicate that's what they are doing.
Okay.
And I think that is, there are a lot of problems with that. You know, and so it's great that they want to do it. I'll let it go with that.
Yeah.
They presented last night.
Yeah,
They presented last night at council.
I listened to that, and once again, I don't know that Mr. McBride was making that distinction.
well, he did say the plot cameras were responsible for, I think, 73 arrests of wanted fugitives.
But that's not, that's safety. That's not transportation.
True.
One
Um,
of their tenants is.
they recovered 973,000 in stolen automobiles.
So it's wonderful. It's not transportation infrastructure, and McBride did.
Oh, you have an infrastructure there.
Did say that they want to do infrastructure, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
That's 53, 54.
54, I frankly have a problem with their recommendation that the Stonecrest PID be deferred, and the reason for it,
Mhm.
given the amount of work that may have been done by the CID committee, and I only say may because honest to God, I have not looked at a single video.
3.5 years.
3.5 years of meetings,
Mhm.
maybe we are a lot more ready than the consultants think, so my recommendation is that, I'll rephrase this, but that they become aware of the work in progress and reconsider their weight
Yeah.
recommendation.
That's fine. Yeah, my interpretation of that was that, given the number of items that they were making recommendations to act on, and the size and where the city is in terms of its development of its economic development infrastructure. My impression was that the instruction, the consultant was trying to give guidance that shouldn't be a top priority.
Which is why
So
some of
because
those recommendations
yeah.
are gonna be really
Yeah.
important.
I will stand on what I say in writing here for the most
that's
part,
great,
other, you know, what I say about the East Metro CID, by the way, which I'm a fan of, believe it or not. Is pretty much what I said about the previous slide. As far as the recommendation goes, I will say, I'll stand on what I say here and what our consultant, Mr. Kaiser, says from the Industrial Council, other than to say, with due respect to the consultant, they don't know what they're talking about.
I agree with that.
All right, they don't have the information.
Right.
And it's really it's counterproductive to simply give what amounts to a speculative personal opinion when it's about something that is that important and really was the reason for forming the industrial council.
Right.
That's our primary goal.
Point taken.
And we will work on it.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you, Dave.
any more 54, you're welcome.
55, 56.
What is a permit waiver?
I don't know.
Whatever it is, it does smell it.
It's illegal.
Which one you on that?
This is on 55.
55, they suggest the city have a permit waiver policy for developments that are aligned with the city's, I think, housing goals.
I think
Have you heard of that though? Is that just like never, or you're like, no, I've heard of it?
You can wait for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you waive it? But
The fees,
But isn't that?
doesn't say fees.
You could do that in Arizona.
Fees would go.
But in Georgia, we have something called an anti-gratuity clause in the state constitution.
You know, he's right.
So we can't even waive the fees.
That's the city attorney.
I think, so then.
I try to get things waived.
Yeah, the recommendation then is that we look into that and then we also,
That'd be exam,
yeah,
run by the city.
examine that, yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Cause I've heard waiving permit fees before too, but that's Florida, we're going. So,
Any more in 56?
57.
recommendation and wording here to indicate that part of the vision of the city is the environmental preservation of our green space could be reworded as follows. Stonecrest is a resilient and approachable city where entrepreneurs, I can say that, entrepreneurialism is nurtured, diversity of people and culture is so celebrated, the natural environment is cherished and protected, and economic activity contributes to a high quality of life for local businesses, workforce, and residents.
You're so eloquent.
I thank you for writing on my brochure. Well, God knows we love it.
All right, 58.
We are looking.
We're
forward
almost
to that
there.
short
Almost there.
statement.
Totally agree.
58 says, 58 says, the sentence beginning, it's absolutely critical, the community reestablish trust. Should say, it's absolutely critical that the city reestablish trust, because guess what? The community is not the active person in that sentence.
Love it. Okay. 59. Got a couple of those, and then you have Dave and the Hebron.
I think you're about to say the same thing.
I think we all hit the ceiling when we saw the recommendation for high density development on Waters Farm and around it, as well as another place. And additionally, the recommendation for industrial use of Lithonia Industrial, I think it was south of I-20.
Yes.
That though that map should be removed or
Expunged.
replaced with something else without those speculative, bad, anti-comprehensive plan, anti-overlay costs.
So you're rejecting the consultant's recommendation on this one, for me.
It's not listed as a recommendation.
It's not really a
It's just.
We don't know what it is.
It happens to have those things.
It's another one of those maps that are included. Okay, why? What's-
And
what's
it's
supposed to be
terribly inconsistent, like Bernie and Dave have said, with the overlay districts that already have been created
Mhm.
in those areas to include the industrial council and over in our area, the national area. You can't do that. And so we should not mislead anyone or have those of us that have worked for 24 years believe now
Mhm.
you're gonna propose putting like a Starbucks on top of our farm. So
For those of you for 31 years.
yeah, so we just wanna make sure that, you know, surely that was an oversight.
Right.
All right, 59,
That's serious.
and that,
That was serious.
you got,
So that was 59 for
you
me.
got 259, actually.
I did both.
Okay, all right. Barney, well, 59.
Ditto today.
Okay, all right. 60? 61?
I had something really quick on 61, but I wasn't sure if it was relevant for 73 or not. My question was this: why isn't redevelopment of the mall campus itself discussed here?
And it should be in the, and certainly in the context of the LCI plan.
Right.
You know, the LCI plan is terribly outdated, needs to be updated, it can be done and be used as a tool for lots of federal funding.
Right. So like we should be talking about that. And across the country, people are having success redeveloping their quote unquote dead malls. With everything from community centers to high density residential, not in the Arabian Mountain area, but in this area. So I think we should be putting the mall in play to think about that. I don't know how it gets done. I just think it needs to be put in play here.
We've got a wonderful economic development.
He's ready.
Really minute, and I bet he knows how to get on.
Right.
I'll just wait for your comments.
Right, I'll get 62.
No, I got 61.
Okay.
They are actually proposing a specific location for the town center,
Yeah, I had problems with that too, but
and I think they should remove the specific location only because it could put blinders on people who are thinking about it.
Right. Yeah. That is not something that someone.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Was this a direction given to the consultant
Well, see,
to lay that out that way?
yeah, there,
I don't
I don't know what was specifically given to them, but there have been,
I didn't see it in the RFP, that's why I'm wondering.
right, there has been conjecture during the previous administration that if I remember where the consultant said the town center ought to be, is where they said this town center ought to be. I don't think they even looked at the comprehensive plan.
And there's been more than the previous version of the Development Authority. They spent a lot of time on the concept of the town center.
Yeah.
They were taken up to Smyrna, to where the new town center is up there, and whatever, for the day or whatever. They were taken to various places, and that Development Authority was concentrating on for a while.
Yeah.
And I forget the chronology between that and Mr. Allen's project.
Right,
It
right.
was a
And I assume that might have been in the mix too, but you know,
slide.
but it was all subjective. It wasn't really.
I try not to, I try not to direct or add or create for you, but it's a question that for I myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I think when you look at the comprehensive plan, I think the comprehensive plan probably does a much better job at framing how you need to think about where you place the town center.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does up to a point, but it is strange. When it gets to designating areas both north and south of I-20 clustered around, like on the Industrial Boulevard and Evans Mill Road as city center.
Right.
Because it's hard to see that that's going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
Or what you're
Without
showing.
buying a lot of land, without buying a bunch of land.
Also remember, they have a couple of different designations.
But that's the basis of, I think, where this
Yeah.
recommendation comes from.
They also have something called regional center or centers in the comp plan,
Wow.
and a couple of, I think there are 3 levels of center, and
Right.
Yeah, it's page 112, if anybody's interested in looking, don't.
Right.
I gotta say, I've
Yeah.
been impressed with the methodology of this room.
Right. All right, are we done with 59?
Yes.
All right,
No, we were at 60, we were. at 60.
okay, we're on 61. Okay, I'm sorry. So we're done with 61.
Yes, no. They say encourage multiple smaller scale mixed use development around the city. I'd like that to say around the city other than within the Arabian Mountain Conservation.
Okay.
And,
All right.
and I would add that that's important to realize because you really do have to take a look at the map of the conservation district.
Mhm.
It takes up really about half of the land south of I-20 in the city.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah, and one of
And
my
that precludes a lot of development.
Yeah, one of my interpretations of that part, for whatever it's worth, is that they were looking for ways to be able to engage. It was, I essentially interpreted it as sort of the modular temporary centers where you can get the community engaged and then move it to another section and get community engaged, not necessarily as sort of permanent town centers.
No, they do talk about that in the plan, they should.
But there's also something else going on.
They call it
Dave,
tax-
you might want to talk about this a little bit. The proposal, which keeps cropping up, to do something like that in the extreme southeastern corner of the city. You know the one I'm talking about?
I don't want to talk about that.
All right, are we done with 61?
No, first,
I mean, that.
Let's
another
talk
reason
about it
to
at a
argue
future
against
meeting.
this thing of multiple percent.
Are we done with 61?
Future.
I'll tell you what.
Are we done with 61?
All right.
Next one. Yeah.
Here, home stretch. Anybody for 62?
63?
I'd like to see a breakdown under each of the 6 focus categories of the major segments of that they think are appropriate for Stonecrest. And as an example, there's a single bullet under film and entertainment that says we should encourage live music venues.
Okay.
Well, if that's the most important thing about film and entertainment development, I'll eat my hat,
Right.
you know, so they need.
No,
to-
that's a good point, Dave. The video of the presentation of that plan, I
Yeah.
got a chance to watch it. Don't quote me, this you should watch yourselves, but it does talk about creating an innovation and research hub that attracts technicians and academics from the entertainment field, in addition to this idea of a after hours sort of hangout spot for entertainment folks. So if you listen to, I forgot what their names were.
Lynn,
No, this was not, no, this wasn't Lynn. This is not Lynn. This was presented to the Entertainment Film Commission. Those are the folks. I can't think of their names, but they were very clear about what they thought And I don't remember it being as simple as what was put in this
I can
plan.
send it to you. So
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
yeah, they
It's
were
just,
talking about that,
each of these focus areas should have a couple of bullets that says what the cream of the crop in those areas are.
yeah.
Film studios, not, oh, this is my judgment call, film studios, not bars.
Okay.
Even though bars are
I was
things, you know.
But that hopefully will get, that's why we need to hammer home the whole recommendation summary thing.
Right.
Yes.
I think that's the one storehouse where that stuff should.
In
live.
general,
There are a couple
my
of them,
comment is
but
that
that's
each of
certain.
these categories is very broad, as they should be. When the report should not be too specific, giving a little more would be good. We don't want to constrain things,
Okay,
but we do want to communicate.
You still talking about 63?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
and I've got two other comments about 63.
Okay,
Retail should be added to this slide so that there is a complete list of the 6 focus areas. Now, that's a presentation comment.
Okay.
It's not a content comment. And I go back to the additional stuff that I added and said somewhere in this tree that I cut down, for the help for it, alternative. Or retail should be removed as a focus area with an asterisk, and the slides on retail move to a separate internal use document because they are valuable. My own view is that developing retail at this time will not bring in the higher level establishments that residents want, and that will be attractive to companies considering a move to Stonecrest. In other words, right now, if we go for restaurants, we're not gonna get a Papa Do's, we're not gonna get a Cheesecake Factory, we're not gonna get white tablecloths.
I'm not gonna copy,
Yeah.
we're not gonna get a chopped cheese salad, any of the.
wait a minute.
Sorry.
You're not.
One of the considerations I had for that area is place retail is vertical integration. And so you can do that. In other words, you can look at pieces that serves the retail space. And basically, this would move into warehousing or logistics as an example. But you can go from that industry, from that segment of that industry, and just kind of move up the food chain and get higher paying jobs. So I don't know that it needs to be taken out, but I do think that what needs to be considered, and I talk about this in the other document I'm talking about, is to look at how you do vertical integration there as opposed to ignoring it, because it's such a big sector.
That's something I don't know about, but I just, as a focus area for economic development.
Right.
I think we should be raising the ocean as far as.
Right, and that's what-
Of retail, either coming by themselves, because they will start to come. They will start to come on their own. Now, I also footnoted, I would like to see a quality grocery store recruitment be made a separate quality of life project for the city and assigned to ED as a service to residents.
Okay, but that would still be retail.
I like the second part of what you said, and because of that, I think it should stay.
I have one question and one observation. The observation is that I hope this doesn't happen, but what happens to film and entertainment if the General Assembly reduces or removes the film credit?
We'll
There's
come
a
back.
lot of discussion about that.
Well-
So that could come tumbling down. I don't know if we should be relying on it that much.
You got.
We'll come back to
Yeah.
Okay, sorry,
Go
Shelby.
on.
The question is, and I've had this for a long time.
You're making my head hurt.
Could be wrong with the city using the development authority or some other way, actually establishing its own supermarket or its own farmers market
Yeah, they get
that
that.
operates all the time, not just on weekends, not just once a month. But why not?
Yeah, co-ops are a good opportunity.
Yeah, good.
to think about.
Yeah, it could be a co-op, it's certainly good, because we seem to have real difficulty convincing Publix or Kroger's, whatever, to relocate here. Let's do it on our own.
Has there been an attempt?
No, not that I'm aware of. There haven't even.
I'm aware of a rumor of an attempt.
The former administration.
But let's drill down and finish this, and then we can sort of.
Anyway, so I think this is a big thing.
Yeah, there was an attempt, right?
I think
Was it?
the question of is retail one of 6 areas that gets, 1/6 of Christians' attention from the get-go.
But it is so big, you cannot ignore it, but again, but in terms of actually getting into the strategy, through this document. I mean, we can talk about the, recommendations, whether or not we think.
I found it interesting that of all of the segments,
Mhm.
while retail was there, it wasn't included as a target,
Right, it was.
which is why I called out the survey. It's mentioned that there's no recommendation.
Right, there is.
And nope.
No.
I looked, it's
No,
in the,
it's
it's
not
in,
right.
and then I put it, I added it in the survey as,
Yeah.
as that, but it's not, there's no recommendation for
Mhm.
retail.
It's not. In
But-
fact, there's
but there
almost
were
a
two
disclaimer.
slides. There was extra slides.
Dozen slides. 10% of the deck.
Yeah,
Was specifically around that, so but I wanted clarification from the committee
Right.
to the consultant
well,
for that piece.
well, my whole thought about that was that I thought they did, they overrepresented retail, given its role in the plan. And underrepresented all the other industries that should be focused on.
Yes,
I mean, that's just sort of a general observation.
they ran out of gas.
Yeah, I don't know what, they could have run out of money. I don't know. I mean.
Yeah,
But anyway,
let's have a separate.
Yeah, that's-
discussion about that,
yeah.
But, yeah, they were talking about clustering around retail. That was one of the things that she spent a lot of time talking about. So I think some of these comments are kind of like anecdotal, and they're
Yeah.
anecdotal around the idea
Yeah.
that there should be density clustered around retail,
Right.
density clustered
Right.
around retail. So it's sort of sweeping.
right,
You can come back
Right.
and read it in this report.
and that could have been a money thing. I don't know how much you got.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
All right,
Okay,
64.
62?
You're at 64, right? 4 and 69? You're 69?
Yeah, and I've got, this applies to that series. Two things, in general, 64, 69. I'm surprised we've seen no recommendation around monetizing visitors to the natural areas via retail services aimed at those specific visitors. Natural food cafe, bicycle, and kayak sales and rental.
Hmm.
It would not have a major impact in and of themselves, but would A, increase visitorship, tourism, and B, as shopping and dining opportunities increase, the per visitor spend would increase.
Great catch.
By the way, Chattahoochee National Recreation Area just came out with a study saying each of their visitors spends about $45 in the local area. And that has a, what's the word? A secondary effect in total of about 70, I think it was $3.
Yeah, impact,
That's a
yeah,
word.
that's wording.
Yeah, an indirect
Yeah.
impact of $73 per person.
Right. Okay.
Worth noting, people who go to NOLA, again, we talked about NOLA a little earlier, there is no retail anywhere around NOLA between Stonecrest and NOLA. They're going to NOLA through Stonecrest and coming back through. We should try to capture some of that.
Okay.
Additionally, I think a shuttle service should be provided to connect the mall and New Block Wall Street, trailheads,
Exactly.
and Flat Rock Archives, and I will add among other points of interest
Okay.
to help the monetization, because then people will be at the mall or in BWS,
Okay.
as well as reduce traffic and parking problems at the trailhead, which are a big, serious problem.
Which is why we gotta chase that LCI money.
And the Alliance and all of those
Mhm,
partners have
exactly,
discussed just that, shuttles and ways to intermarket all of our attractions. So those conversations are going forward with Mr. Allen and with Matt.
Okay, then my next one is on 68.
I had one for 66.
Okay.
So. My phone is going to sleep and I'm starting to feel sleepy as well. All right, so for 66, the question I had about this slide was, is it clear to someone without an extensive knowledge of retail and demography and shopping habits and all that? So my question was, how was supply and demand calculated for the specialty food stores on this slide? They were trying to show something called leakage, right? So the idea that there's this money out there, it's going to Atlanta, it's going to Gwinnett, it's going, and it ain't coming here, right? So they were trying to capture that. And so when they talked about the grocery market, you know, I felt okay about that number. But then it goes to specialty foods and it says there's zero leakage. Or I should say there was zero demand, and then there was only $168,000 worth of demand, but then there was like no supply being supplied. So my concern was, how is someone from the public supposed to read that and understand it? Yeah, so I wanna ask
Along with a
them,
lot of other stuff.
well, no, that's right, but again, I did not want us to be rewriting this thing. I already feel like we have, but, you know, I'm okay, it's fine, so.
I'm with you, Andrew. I was lost when they got.
You know what I'm talking- okay.
Fire leakage section, like.
Yeah.
Looks
Well,
important.
I think
Again,
the second
think
reading was
these detailed
important.
slides ought to be in another
Yeah.
document.
That was more of a, I'm gonna say that was a big giant red flag. Here you go,
Right.
big present to you.
Right.
Okay,
And you're
To
losing
economic
money.
Development,
and here's where
and
you're
when it
coming.
comes to recruiting,
right,
and I found it. I found it nice and I found it odd. And
Yes.
I think that it's to call out to a specific. It was literally call out for a specific store.
right,
Right.
And I appreciate it.
right.
Christian, I think
But
the
here's-
genesis of that is that when they had their sole public meeting where the 80 people came, that they heard bunches about this being a retail and restaurant desert. And how we want. we
It's a
don't
food
want-
desert, right?
Right.
Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes,
Well, it is a food desert, but I think what, if we can, you know, just to wrap this piece up, there,
well, and I have another comment, so I apologize.
yeah, essentially what I saw it in the plan,
Yeah.
recognizing what I thought about the consultant, their experience, et cetera, was essentially put on the radar that we do have leakage and why we have leakage. Not necessarily, I didn't focus as much on the quantification of it, because I don't know the formula they might use, but I think that was the point that they were trying to make, that we are losing dollars because the retail model, because we don't have certain amenities.
But again, I wanna come back to that. Y'all forgive me. The reason I'm going hard on this is because, again, people need to understand what they're reading. The public's gonna see this at some point, I hope, please. Because a developer might read that specialty food part and say 168 grand. Trader Joe's is a 12,000 square foot store that generates $15 million. There's no money for me to go and chase.
But they're not-
That's
that's
how I
not-
think.
that's not official.
Yeah, just so you'll know.
But the
They won't
point,
get it.
no. The point I'm making is, there is a such thing, there is a category such as specialty foods, right? And most of them have revenues that far exceed 168 grand. What I'm saying is, why would I come to this spot called Stonecrest if there's only 168 grand a year for me to get?
Right.
I'm not clear I even understand the slide, but that's what I think.
Right.
So for instance, Seven Onda, right? Would Seven Onda come over here for 168 grand? I'm not sure that number is even right.
Well, I
It may
think
not be,
they,
but-
they
but-
should define specialty first.
Be
because I
clear
see-
about what it
I
is.
see that as a butcher, a baker, a candlestick.
Right, and we can,
But anyway,
we can pose that other question. I can tell you for certain, anybody that's coming over here is not gonna rely on this plan to determine their numbers.
additionally, on slide 68,
But we've been invited to do this
Right.
exercise. And I don't wanna feel like I'm wasting my time because of that
No,
either.
no,
So,
you're not.
so my time's valuable too. So I'm saying, we gotta look at that. When you talk about Publix is 45,000 square foot stores. They do about 14 million a year in revenues on average, right? So that fits into that first part. But when you talk about this specialty food, we gotta be clear about what it is, because we actually wanna entice somebody to come.
we are agreeing with you.
All right, next, 71.
68, I think the retail analysis is flawed. I think a lot of people shop at Walmart for groceries. That's not included.
Right.
A lot of people shop at dollar stores for groceries.
They did, right.
That's not included.
Right.
The leakage is overstated.
Okay.
Yes.
And
It's-
anybody for 69 or 70?
No,
In our last slide, I have two companies. One is 71, the Arabian Mountain NHA is not a natural amenity. As they describe it, or included, say it is, although it contains large natural areas. And 71, visitors who come to Stonecrest have two somewhat separate focus areas. Recreation within natural areas, such as Arabian Mountain, adjacent green space, South River, the upcoming Botanical Gardens, if that materializes as a point of interest.
Right.
And the second is tourism. I don't know if you call it historical, cultural. Maybe, both. Around Black history and culture, Flat Rock Archives, Flat Rock Cemetery, New Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And I'd like to the recommendation expanded, suggest the creation of a separate natural Stonecrest Trail and a Black History Trail.
Okay.
But there's also Native American stuff here too that we probably need to pick up, but just that. They feel very
Interpret that.
Yeah.
It's not just natural. And it's not just Black history, it's also industrial.
Thank you.
What, if you, what Arabian Mountain and Butter Farm are, in addition to natural areas. They are dairy history, which is an industry, and they are quarry history. And they would not be there, first of all, if it were not quarry history. And second of all, they covers quarry history. The trail between Arabian Mountain and Lithonia is a rail trail, which was the rail spur by which granite was taken up to the main line, and it was donated by industry, by what was Heidelberg Materials. So we're where Mira Cardenas, the previous executive director, she went up to Cleveland, right? Or since Cleveland, and what that is it's centered on industry, past and present. They've got a nature trail that goes right past an active steel mill, for God's sakes. And it's also centered on the old canal, the Augusta Canal is an industry. So what I would say, Dave, is that building on what you recommend, I'd say extend it to suggest the creation of a natural and hit Stonecrest Trail and Black and industrial history trail.
I'd say two separate trails, Black History and Industrial.
Black history and industrial history.
And they will have some overlap, so it'll be fun.
That's right, number one, and number two, point out that. Yeah, Arabian Mountain, as you say, NHA, not a natural amenity, contains large natural areas and also large industrial areas.
But my point here is that it's their wording on that
I
one,
took your point on that.
where they say.
I'm just saying we should not forget that it's also comprised of large. active
Absolutely.
industrial areas. I know you will, so.
Okay.
All right, no.
It is 8. All right, so we are done, I think, with going, and you have major submissions to the executive director for economic development. And I think our business is done here. In our next meeting, next month.
For the evening,
Right, for this evening.
we're not adjourning the committee permanent.
No, we're adjourning for this evening.
It's not signed of that.
No, it's not signed of that. I answered.
So the next meeting,
The next meeting will be the second Tuesday in November. And which.
14th, because we voted on the 7th, November 7th. Right. Still be voted. So on the 14th.
14th, right,
We'll convene.
right, we will convene and we will essentially go through a similar exercise, hopefully much briefer. In terms of the content that we will be submitting for council by whichever.
So to be clear, tomorrow, what I'm gonna do is add Andrew's comments to this Excel spreadsheet. I'm gonna load it up. If I want to take some time, take a week, is that okay?
Yeah.
And
You
make
got to-
modifications, edits, whatever you want.
Mhm.
I paused the survey. I'm gonna put it back up because I've got 5. I'd like more. And from that, on the recommendations, and then if you guys agree in a week, I'll take this, I'll take the survey, and I will send it to the consultant.
Okay.
And because I want them to be able to see that,
Right.
and to make the modifications, changes, things that they agree with, so that they can submit to us their version of the final plan, according to them, with taking into consideration the comments and the survey. And then we review that in the next meeting, is that?
We get to see it before the Senate. So.
Well, it'll be live,
Yeah.
it'll be, I'm not gonna do anything but sit here and take Andrew's comments. And then this will be live, or if you want me to just go ahead and send you whatever it is beforehand.
But I guess my question, and I'm sorry, I wasn't clear, will you do editing?
I won't be editing.
Okay, good, you're just gonna be sending the, basically.
But yeah, he's gotta put it online. So that you can go in and make your own edits based on what you.
Yes, okay, and I'm sorry I didn't understand.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So
No, I don't wanna edit it.
let me make
I
sure.
thought you
you're-
were gonna send our comments the way they are.
Yes, I am. But what I am is I'm putting this as a live document, as it is. I'm leaving it to you in the next week to look at, review, make your comments, changes.
Correct.
I'm not making any. I'm just taking yours as they are and from the live document in a week to the consultant. So that they can take that under advisement and modify what they have currently in draft form. Taking into consideration what this committee has put together.
Right, because there were additional insights that came out of this discussion
Yes,
that I know you guys are having a problem with.
is that agreed?
Yeah, that's what we agreed at first, right? That he was gonna put it on.
It always bears repetition.
Yeah, okay.
All right. FYI, Sheltia's, comments just came in through the email. I just saw that on my phone.
So if you guys
Thank
give
you,
me
Shelby,
tomorrow,
thank you.
Okay.
if you guys give me tomorrow, I'll sit there and add everybody else's comments to this document. If you look, there's a column for each one of you. And with that, each one of your comments per slide is in there.
And so, will you be sending it to us, or do we access it somehow?
I'll send you a link to the live document.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, for the next meeting, what we will be discussing really is the content, it is simply a boiled down version of whatever your thoughts are. That we will be putting in the template that I sent out on,
Well,
yesterday.
if you don't mind, I would wait till we get the new draft plan, because that's gonna have your comments. So then we have another review
Okay,
of the plan that they have agreed based off the comment,
okay.
because otherwise we're just, it could be done.
So have that before you offer
Yeah.
committees.
Well, yeah, I'm saying you have the template that I sent out that we're gonna be using to submit our information. I only put my comments in there just as an example. I'll probably go in and edit it, but, so we will merge, once we get all of that information from everybody, we're gonna collapse it so that we're not being redundant in it with everybody's comments in it that may or may duplicate somebody else's. So that we can concise what we're trying to submit to council, because I'm expecting the council not to necessarily consume the information that we talked about today. So I'm looking for a way to prioritize. In fact, the segment, when you see the template, it has two segments. And that is to capture your main areas of concern by the segments of the document that the consultant provides.
But I'm not arguing, and that's fine, but the consultant still needs to be able to take what you do, I've done so.
Correct, that's right.
And make those modifications, and then from that, I think that we look at, okay, this is what we wanted, did that, what was done, slide by slide.
Yes, yeah,
If they were to accept all of our comments and recommendations, we could end up with a version 2 that we have nothing to say about except it's wonderful.
Right.
That's not gonna happen,
No,
but they will probably take 60%. And so, we can look at what they didn't take and say, and then apply them to your.
Yeah, that's all, all I'm saying is that you have a template that was sent out for your final input that will go to council, not the stuff, not the granular things that you're sending to the consultant. It's just a template. So when you get and review the revised document from the consultant as an
And
example,
we'll fill out the template.
then you'll fill out the template.
Yes,
Yeah, it was just a question of when. Yeah, I think that was.
after we get version.
And I got clear on that. That was very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
and that's great.
We could,
Are we adjourned?
Yeah.
are we adjourned?
We are
You
adjourned.
guys want to have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.